They say there is nothing permanent except change. Still, the sheer speed and volume of change these days is staggering.
We're making the world a better place.
Suddenly, retail stores emptied. Purchasing and loyalty instantly shifted to a virtual world. But stores will reopen, and shoppers will return. Growth of in-person and virtual retail are the future. We are Juniper Networks. We power connections. We empower change.
Change the world.
Hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon. My name's Lawrence Pitt and welcome to the Juniper Networks Retail Virtual Summit today. Just before we really get started, there's a couple of housekeeping things that I would just like to cover off. So starting on our next slide, we have our safe harbor statement. So I'm not going to go through this in massive detail, but basically if you just take a moment, you can see this is relating to the technologies that we're going to talk about and things that we're going to go through in this presentation. Just pause there. Housekeeping. So if you have a look at the screen that you've got, the On24 platform has a number of different applications and things. You can move those around all over the place. You can do things with those to give yourself the best experience, how you want to see the videos, how you want to interact with people, and how you want to do things. It's worth bearing in mind that, of course, doing all this can be quite bandwidth intensive. So if you've got things like a VPN loaded, it might be worth taking that off because it can cause slowdowns in what you're doing. As we go through this today, we will have a live Q&A at the end of the event with the presenters. There's a chat panel where you can submit questions if you have a look. So if there's something that comes up that you want to have to think about, go down, submit the question. If we can answer it in line during the event, then we will. If not, we'll take it and we'll put it into the Q&A panel at the end and we'll take it to our presenters. There's also a resources window, which is worth having a look at as well, because the resources window can tell you there's documents and white papers and information that you can download, which may be helpful. So our agenda for today, if we have a look at this, so we're going to have an introduction by James Morgan in a minute, followed by presentations from IDC, our own Paul Morris at Juniper, and then on to 3 customers. Finally, we move out to our panel discussion, which we will use to actually round the event out. So with that, we're going to move on. We're going to have some great sessions today from our specialists talking about information technology, talking about retail and everything. But to get things started, I would like to introduce James Morgan. James is the Vice President of Enterprise Sales in EMEA. He's got years of experience working in ICT, has been extensively involved in selling many business transformation projects at all kinds of levels to enterprises, service providers, and across all sectors. James has been at Juniper Networks since 2016, where he came to us from Infodata, where he was a founding and managing directing member of the UK arm of that business. So over to you, James. Thank you very much.
Lawrence, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, I very much appreciate not mentioning exactly the number of years or even when you and I first worked together in this industry, which was, again, many years ago. So a pleasure to be here, and thank you one and all, customers and partners alike for taking the time to spend with us today. I think it's going to be a very interesting session, and I'm really excited and looking forward to what we've got lined up for you today. So I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes without stealing or wishing to steal any of the thunder of some of the great speakers that follow me. And first bullet point probably is the most boring bullet point you're ever going to see on a presentation or a slide deck. I'm not going to go into the whole, what the ins and outs of my daily activities are work-wise, but I did just want to summarize, where I get most excited, where I get my energy from, which is when I'm engaging and talking with customers and partners, and when those organizations take, our technology and really wrap some innovation and forward-thinking approaches to that technology, and it's amazing when you see the outcomes, the business outcomes that are delivered. But some of the common themes when I'm talking to CIOs of different organizations or network leaders or marketing leaders who are responsible for experience is, as I say, a few key things that jump out at me that I took note of. One is about data, clearly, visibility, correlation, and usability of data of the users' propensities, what they're like, what they're interested in, really coming up with that sort of customer intimacy and that data can provide. It's all about differentiation as well. How can they provide something that's a little bit special, as I say, using innovation to help them differentiate and really drive value and return on investment into the organizations. Of course, reliability and security are critically important. When we're talking about data, the protection of that data, the protection of these organizations' brands are critically important. And of course, having something that is 24/7, there was a big outage obviously a couple of days ago on the internet, the ramifications of that when organizations can attribute a pound or a euro lost as a result of some downtime, whether that's in store or online, is really very critical. And of course, that all boils down to the user and the user's experience, the customer, the client. But everything you're going to be hearing about, I think, is about those different experiences and how we can really give a superlative, real customer delight around the way that they experience and interact. Of course, it would be very remiss of me, especially in the retail sector, to not mention what a challenging and difficult year that we've all been presented with, but in particular those organizations in that space, severely impacted by the pandemic. And you're going to hear some stories about how organizations have pivoted before that event kind of took place, as well as then sort of maximizing the way that technology can really deliver, safe and trusted experiences and environments as well. Clearly, things like online retail and click and collect became absolutely crucial overnight, going back to the security and the 24/7 having to be bulletproof. And the network fundamentally made it all possible. But as you're going to hear again a bit later today, not all networks are created equal. And what we're finding is that when you combine some of the requirements and you focus on the business outcomes and the network really becoming that enabler of those outcomes, we've clearly seen, I think, a lot of accelerated innovation. It's been an opportunity for many organizations to really put their foot down on the pedal and go hard at that innovation. And I think there's a new paradigm and a really exciting window of opportunity that is evolved and will continue to evolve. And again, you're going to hear from some organizations that are at the cutting edge of that and about their experience. I think what we've also seen is that the retail experience and expectation really has changed forever. And those outcomes that we're going to hear from customers today are really what excites me and excites us as an organization. You're going to hear about real, true, actionable, live insights from data that really drives that customer experience and focusing on quality. And we're going to touch on application experience and the visibility around that, as well as the real tangible, game-changing benefits that AI-supported operations can provide. And again, I'm delighted that we've got some happy and I think thriving customers to help talk about that in terms of how that's transformed the way that they operate their parts of the business. So fundamentally, we've got many customers from the largest retailer on the planet through to many smaller sized organizations, and this is an area that we know and have worked in for many years. It's our know-how, the technology and how we bring that to market, but it's your sector, you know clearly your business models, your challenges and the opportunities. And when we combine that, we really find the shared success and the win-win situation working with our long-established and trusted partners as well. So we've got many thousands of retail locations, hundreds of thousands. I love, as I said, the way that you as customers and partners really drive that innovation for some of those, the largest organizations on the planet, the most challenging, the most demanding. And I'm really looking forward to, explaining at length in follow-on sessions, etc., how our portfolio, which has been enhanced significantly over the last few years, and the knowledge combined with the partners really has meant that we've never been more relevant for the retail market than we are today. So that was pretty much all I wanted to do. I just wanted to give you a few thoughts that are top of mind, and without any further ado, I'll hand back to Lawrence. Thank you.
Thanks so much, James. That was really great. So we're now going to move on into our presentation, starting out with a presentation from Giulio Raffaele at IDC. Giulio leads the research for worldwide innovation, strategy, and digital transformation in retail, as well as providing support to companies and places like IT vendors and integrators. He's got tons of experience, having previously himself worked with an e-commerce startup that dealt with luxury hospitality sales, and this led him to get involved in the strategy, operations, digital marketing, and European business support around the whole organization. So, handing over to you. Thanks very much, Giulio.
Well, thank you very much, Lawrence, for the introduction, and good afternoon to everybody. So, as you were anticipating, I am a research manager at IDC Retail Insights. And first of all, I would really like to thank Juniper for inviting me to the Retail Summit and for the opportunity to share IDC vision on the retail industry. And so today it will be my pleasure to share with you IDC's point of view on how retailers can accomplish the contactless retail mission in the next normal. And without further ado, I would really get started with some news from the retail that have been appearing over the past months. And this is just one example of the type of headlines that we have been seeing over past months, over the past year and a half. Oh, and now finally they are getting less and less there. Because on one side we have these gloomy headlines that sort of provided a very strange and unexpected picture of retail. But on the other side, we really have been seeing, and this is under the eyes of everybody, that actually the retail business is strong out there. And e-commerce has been having its highest growth since 2008. And for example, just if we consider grocery, household, and department stores, they recorded record online sales increases. And then another type of headlines that we have been seeing, unfortunately, of course, has been regarding a wave of store closures. Well, even if this is true, and we know that today some retailers continue to close their stores, however, retail is far from broke. It's important to say this. So again, many brands in the retail industry have been seeing amazing results in online sales, and also they are starting to get back traction on their stores and leveraging the stores, as we will see, to substantially combine them with the e-commerce power and increase sales and customer loyalty and so on and so forth. And regarding this, we believe it's at this point really important to look at those retailers that we call as innovation strategy determined. So those retailers that leverage a unified innovation strategy to understand the direction in which the retail industry is going and where all the retailers should go. Well, the first thing that comes out from our global retail innovation survey is that those retailers, that EV League of retailers that are guided by an innovation strategy, are considering new store types as the top revenue generation source for the next 3 years. So store remains at the center of revenue generation. And this is fundamental because even if it will be a different type of store, it actually will still be at the center of the business model of retailers. And then it is very interesting to see, as we have just said, looking at the examples of retailers that were performing well in e-commerce, e-commerce is the second revenue source that these innovation-driven retailers are planning to leverage. and to be the most relevant for the upcoming 3 years. So here we really see how there needs to be a convergence of stores and e-commerce capabilities in delivering the store of the future capabilities and new contactless models, as we will see later. And then other revenue sources will be as well IoT commerce. So one example for all is the smart fridges that operate auto-replenishment by dialoguing with direct-to-consumer companies and with retailers. And then, as well, the opportunity to sell as a service the proprietary technology that retailers are developing nowadays. So, with this in mind, let's continue to talk about the store. And let's refer to a prediction that we have done in very recently, at the end of 2020, by saying that by 2025, digital shelves, returns inventory visibility, robotic fulfillment, and automated checkout will accelerate investment in connected storage platforms by 2 years and 10 times over current forecast level. So the store is at the center of retail digital transformation strategies and is going to drive an acceleration in technology investment, above all if you think about connected storage platforms. And well, what we are seeing is actually that this acceleration in digital transformation programs is really related to 3 types of programs that are secure omnichannel operations, seamless and frictionless commerce, and connected workforce. That from IDC point of view, all of them point at what we call these contactless retail operational models. So all of the models that enable retailers to deliver an in-store experience that is as much as easy and safe as possible for their clients that are browsing in the store, that are approaching to a store. And well, the point is that digital transformation efforts in these programs and for implementing the contactless retail operational model, well, we require underpinning retail application and system that will have to process considerable stream and data workloads that will need to deliver in-store real-time contextual experience. So bear in mind this contextual experience aspect, real-time contextual experience, because it will come back later. And then, in order to execute these contactless models at speed and scale, it is fundamental that retailers implement what we call a retail commerce platform. That is an architecture that is built upon 4 core capabilities that are customer experience, commerce, order fulfillment, and content optimization services, all of them orchestrated by AI ML analytics foundations and integrated thanks to development and integration services with open APIs to the ecosystem of enterprise, consumer, and data services. Now, the interesting part is that retailers have clear execution priorities for retail commerce platform that should fundamentally be built upon a hybrid multi-cloud architecture. And according to our survey, 80% of retailers globally are currently implementing this type of platform, with 42% of them focusing on implementation of a microservices architecture. And last but not least, 32% of them prioritizing the implementation of AI ML analytics foundations that, as we have seen, are the orchestrating core of the platform. Now, as we have seen, one of the core capabilities that are the center of the retail commerce platform is customer experience. And well, this is really fundamental because, as we were anticipating, real-time contextual has to be at the center of retailers' actions and digital transformation plans. Well, this is because real-time contextual customer journey models are the real differentiation opportunity for retailers. Now, if we make a step back and we start looking from the far left, where we see static segments, and progressing to dynamic segments and to dynamic personas, where these are the customer journey models that are substantially based on a historic record of customer data that are updated 6 to 12 months each year, usually, and that are not considering any type of possibility of real personalization of the customer experience. Then we move to the segment of one that leverages batch data, historic data, in order to deliver a personalized experience. And we move then to real-time contextual customer journey models that leverage historic data and real-time data in order to deliver a contextualized experience to the shopper in the store, for example. And well, having said this, as you've seen, AI/ML capabilities are fundamental for enabling all of these capabilities. And actually, we are seeing retailers investing in what we call AI-driven value chains. So we have 67% of retailers that are focusing on investment for AI/ML for order orchestration, and then another 66% for real-time contextual customer experience. And 63% are investing in AI/ML for merchandise and assortment planning. So we see here how really it all goes around the store and in enabling the store capabilities. And well, once you have in place all of these capabilities, it is as well fundamental to have in place the appropriate architecture that allows you to orchestrate all of this. And so at IDC, we believe that it's fundamental that cross-functional line of business and IT teams can control and predict the functioning of these complex retail systems. So we are seeing that 65% of retailers are implementing cloud capabilities to monitor, forecast, and optimize server, storage, network resources, and capacity dynamically. And at the same time, 33% of retailers are already successfully leveraging consistent service level monitoring and reporting across private, hybrid, and public cloud applications and services. Now, the fact is that investing in all of this is already bringing results to retailers. That's the important part. And so what we are seeing, according to our research, is that retailers that leverage a cloud infrastructure, according to the paradigm that we have just seen, well, acknowledge its positive impact on top and bottom line. So if we look at the bottom line, we see 30% of retailers that have improved IT security, a 30% that has improved the IT team productivity, and as well reduced the size of IT budget. And united to this, on the top line side, well, a 40% has improved customer experience metrics, a 38% has improved business agility, and a 20% has improved their time to market. So leveraging a microservices-based cloud infrastructure that enables a retail commerce platform is bringing real results. And at this point, we would like to leave you with 3 key recommendations to follow in this field. First of all, think about contactless retail and consider that these type of models require a common effort between line of business and IT teams. So consider network infrastructure modernization among the top shared initiatives in these teams. Then retail commerce platform. So these are complex assets that enable short-term profitability and long-term innovation and growth. So consider the opportunity to implement an underpinning artificial intelligence and machine learning-driven autonomous network infrastructure. And last but not least, regarding the real-time contextual store experience, when you assess the maturity of the store networks that you are leveraging and deciding transformation priorities, focus on the essential need to deliver real-time contextual experience to customers and employees. And at this point, with these recommendations, I have concluded my presentation, and I would like to thank you for the attention. And I now hand over to Lawrence so that he can introduce the next speaker.
Thank you so much, Giulio. It's a really great presentation. It's really clear how important the customer experience in retail is. And just to prove that point, I actually already have a question that's come in from the audience as we've been going through. So just remember, people, you can submit in the chat if you want to. So next up, we've got Paul Morris. Paul's from Juniper Networks. He is our retail lead, and he's working with our customers to be able to build their networks up and out in pursuit of the business transformation and growth goals that they're looking for. Today, Paul's talking to us about how we can better leverage the AI-driven network for measurement and enhancement of customer experiences. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Lawrence. Yes, so hello, everybody. And thank you for the introduction. And thank you, Giulio, for that very insightful presentation. And I'd like to add my welcome to everybody to this Retail Summit. So if we look at the challenges that are affecting the retail world today, obviously the number one on everybody's mind in the news is COVID-19. You know, we've had stores opening and shutting at short notice, often even at days' notice. People not knowing whether they're going to be open or shut, and that's really led retailers to have to look at maybe new ways to deliver. So we've seen stores that were traditionally only bricks and mortar moving into online and home delivery. We've seen people offering click and collect, and I think you'll hear later from one of our other customers on how they had to rapidly introduce a click and collect service and how that changed the way that their stores operated. The other thing we've seen is that we'll see, and again you'll hear about it later, is appointment-driven shopping, where you actually make an appointment for a time to go into a store, or maybe you reserve a slot in the queue, and then you go to that store. So retail's always been changing. Change is nothing new. But I think what's accelerated and what we see accelerating over the last 15 months is that speed of change. We used to have maybe years or sometimes even months, but now it's weeks or days that we need to deliver those changes. And those changes have driven a lot of consumers to move to online retail. And as you're all aware, online retail is very different. We talked about kind of real-time contextual journeys, or Giulio kind of touched on those. And they're very easy to deliver in an online world because you get that highly individualized experience. It's tailored around you. It's tailored around what's in your basket. And there's no queues. You don't have to wait in a queue at the end to check out. And in a way, retail's almost moved back to how it was 100 years ago. When you'd walk into your local store, you'd get a personal greeting, and you get a very personal service and recommendations based on the retailer understanding you and maybe what you'd even bought or what you've already put in your basket. So the challenge for retail now is to drive that same experience back into retail stores and encourage people to move back into their physical stores. So at least, in a lot of countries, certainly in the UK now at the moment, all of the retail stores are back open. But if you look through the newspaper headlines or watch the news, you'll see every day that people are saying that footfall is down. So retailers maybe need to change and look at doing something different to drive people back into their stores. And that's what hopefully we're going to talk about. Retailers always have one kind of key advantage in a physical retailer is the fact that you can kind of feel and touch products. I remember, as I was writing this presentation, I kind of remembered back to many years ago when I first went shopping with my father for my first suit. He taught me to take the arm of the suit, crunch it up, let the material go. And he said, if there was creases, don't buy it. If the creases dropped out, buy the suit, because that's how it would look when you've been wearing the suit. You physically still can't do that online. So retailers have that advantage, and they need to build on that advantage that they've still got that physical kind of tactile experience that they can deliver, but they need to enhance it. And the way that they'll enhance that is through applications in the store. Now, those applications could be as simple as a colleague or staff application, where maybe they just have a mobile checkout. So to alleviate queuing and the fact that I don't want to stand in a long queue, potentially close to other people at the moment. Maybe through that kind of online checkout, the checkout now comes to me. Or maybe, if I'm grocery shopping, I just want to use my phone. I want to scan all of the items. I want to pop them in my basket, and then I want to kind of check out, without having anybody else, touch any of the goods that I've bought. So I pick them off the shelf, put them in my bags, and then I take them away. So we're seeing that. One of the things kind of I believe and that Juniper believes is that the next kind of evolution of that application is when it all kind of comes together into, and we've talked about omni-channel for a long time, but I think we're at the point now where we're really starting to deliver that omni-channel. So, maybe I'm walking down the high street, I decide I'm going to get a coffee, so I kind of fire up my my coffee company of choice app on my mobile phone, select the coffee I want, select my nearest store, and order it to be ready when I walk in, that it can be there. Or maybe when I'm going around doing my shopping, I'm actually off somewhere else, and I don't want to take any of my frozen goods home, and I don't want to carry any of my heavy boxes of water or tin goods. So actually, I just scan those, and I arrange to have those delivered to me at a suitable time. And I think that we'll start to see this enhanced customer experience as we start to blend the two worlds between the kind of the physical and the online shopping, and then we can do it in that way. But one of the things that all of these things have in common is the fact that your business is now very, very reliant on the infrastructure and the application, and that those things are kind of key to the customer experience. So if the network and the application is now key, then simply knowing that it's up is not good enough. I'm sure everybody here has been on a Zoom call or a Skype call or a Teams call where the voice is broken up. The person's still connected, but you can't hear what they're saying, or the video's broken and you can't watch it and it's jumping. It's up, but it's not giving the experience that the consumers want. So, and the customer's experience is kind of linked to that performance of the application. If we go back to the examples I used on the last slide, the coffee example, I've ordered my coffee. If I turn up in the store and it's not there and the barista hasn't made my coffee, it's kind of two things happen. One is I have to order it again and queue. But secondly, I kind of now have to find out, well, what happened to my online order? Have I paid twice? What's going on? It's a lot more. It's kind of the experience for me is now worse than if you've not offered that kind of online integrated experience in the first place. Or imagine if I'd ordered all my groceries and then they don't turn up at home, or they turn up with the wrong order because they lost the order. Or the other example is, again, I've scanned all my groceries. I've spent 25 minutes, half an hour in the shop. I get to the end, I get to check out, and it says, "Oh, application error. We just need to rescan all your shopping." And customers will respond in the moment to those things. That whatever you're sorting out the customer's problem, they're probably on social media, kind of bemoaning your kind of application. And it's a thing that I think is not always seen by the business, but really your application performance and therefore the customer experience that you deliver is as key as having clean stores and smiling staff. That it's the whole customer experience is kind of geared around that in that way. So one of the things we do is what we actually do is we allow people through the system to actually measure and define the service level that they want to do, and then you can measure where you are against that service level. The other thing, kind of very aware of in the retail world, is it's hard enough measuring and keeping a single location up and running. I know that in a retail world, we magnify that across maybe hundreds or thousands of stores across a wide geography, maybe across multiple countries. The stores are probably very small, and they don't have any IT staff in them. So it's a lot harder to kind of do that across that kind of thing. The other thing is, you don't get there's no increased IT budget. There's no more staff available. So in order to kind of do that and look at that, we kind of need to think of maybe smarter ways of working and looking at the solution. So because we talked earlier the fact that the customer experience is really key, is really kind of key, and the application performance is kind of key to the customer experience, then that's what we need to measure. And it's only by measuring that customer experience across all of the customers that you've got in all of your locations that you really start to see kind of where your exceptions are. So within the kind of the Juniper Mist solution, you can define the SLAs that you want to deliver or that your applications need to kind of be performant. And then you measure where you are against those applications. And then when you're measuring that, you can see kind of real time in kind of physical dashboards. You can actually see where am I meeting those expectations, and more importantly, where am I not? Where am I having problems, and where do I kind of need to focus my troubleshooting efforts? The other thing we'll do is if we notice a problem on the network and we think it's a wireless problem, we'll actually capture the packets for you. Very, very conscious that in a retail world, trying to replicate a wireless problem is very difficult. Going back to the store, trying to stand in the same place, get the same issue at the same time of day, and capture the packets is pretty much impossible. So what we do is if we notice there's an issue or a challenge on the network, then we'll automatically capture those packets for you and store them. So when you go and look at the issue, the packets are already there. Of your network, we've given you maybe some packet captures, and we've told you where all the problems are. But at the end of the day, you still need to fix those, and that's where AI can come in. Sometimes you need to go back and have that wise old head, or that person that can really kind of help you go back and understand, maybe what the issue is, and you want to dig and use on their experience. So we give you Marvis. So Marvis is our AI engine, or as I often refer to him, he's actually our AI engineer. And he comes to you with those years of experience. He's gathered data over the years, and he can use that to quickly identify the problems that you're having in the network, and he can suggest solutions to fix that. Interestingly, as we've done obviously a large number of proof of concepts with customers, and one of the things that we quite see through Marvis is the fact that actually when they put it in, they actually start to see issues in their own network. Bad cables is a great example. Missing VLANs is the most common. When you've got thousands of switches, making sure the same VLAN exists on every switch is relatively difficult. It's time consuming. It's kind of a needle in the haystack of looking for a configuration issue. Marvis helps you find those. Talking with Marvis is very easy. We now have kind of natural language, so I can go and ask him and say, Marvis, where are my unhappy users? Marvis, who can't connect to the network? Who's having issues? And he'll kind of come back, and then he'll give me some suggestions. He'll give me the list of clients that are having problems, and I can then drill down and kind of understand what those problems are. The other thing that kind of Marvis helps us do, it helps us correlate the data. Kind of aware that across hundreds or thousands of stores, maybe tens of thousands of clients, you could be having lots of connection issues. But it's very difficult to correlate that data. So one of the other things that Marvis can do is he can correlate that to say, well, is it a particular client type? Is it a particular application type? And we've seen this kind of help fix problems in customers where they'd upgraded their handheld terminals. They were having some problems connecting. Marvis saw the problem, captured the packets. We sent them to the manufacturer. They fixed it overnight. It's that kind of skill that without that kind of AI tool would take months, if not years, to fix that. The other thing that Marvis has done is, as he's learned over time, he's kind of learned around our hardware, and he knows the signs that the hardware is about to fail. So now we can do proactive repairs or proactive RMAs. Because we can identify that we're seeing something in the hardware that leads us to believe it's likely to fail, so therefore we can proactively replace it. So kind of go on a little bit from AI, the other advantage that we have is enabling retailers to add value with location. This can be as simple as a personalized greeting when I arrive in the store. Welcome to the store. Maybe if I'm using click and collect, it could be, welcome to the store. Your items are ready to collect in aisle 14. And you can then also use the application to trigger kind of back to your click and collect team that I've just arrived in the store. So again, you can enhance that experience very simply just by kind of knowing, that I've arrived. The other thing we can start to do is we can start to do these in larger stores. We can do these alerts contextually based on where you are in the store. And if we know what you've got in the basket, so maybe we can make you a contextual recommendation. So we know what dinner you've added. Maybe when you get to the wine aisle, we can suggest a wine to go with your dinner. Almost back to that kind of that retail environment we touched on earlier of 100 years ago in your friendly store with the storekeeper who knew you and your shopping habits. Or maybe in a clothes retailer, we can suggest a bag or shoes that go with the outfit that you bought last week. We can also do we can kind of do like the I always call it like the where's the salt. If you're going to a large retail store, I want to find something, we can kind of give you indoor direction locations on where to find something in the shelves and help you find it quickly or kind of optimize your shopping experience. The other thing you get from the system is you get heat maps. So these can be useful in a couple of ways. They can go back into kind of your store planning. Of understanding maybe long-term, where are people going, where are people not going? If I've got a promotion in aisle 5, how many people are actually walking past the end of that aisle and seeing that promotion? So you can kind of go, it can help with product placement. It can help, short-term with, have I got an aisle with a spillage? And, why has nobody walked down that aisle in the last 10 minutes? I'm sure, you're all retailers. I'm sure you've probably got many more ideas than I have around how you can kind of deliver value back into your business, really just by knowing where a customer or a colleague is in the store. And it's kind of worth adding at this time that all of this location service is delivered by the access point. So there's no need for battery-powered beacons. And that ever running cycle you'd have of battery replacement. I'd hate to think of how long you'd spend just replacing batteries if you fill the store with battery-based beacons. So all of this solution is great, but it needs to kind of fit and work with you. It needs to scale with you, and it needs to integrate into your business. So we say that it's microservice-based, cloud-delivered, and API-driven. But what does that really mean to you as a retailer? So cloud-delivered obviously means it's delivered out of our cloud. So you don't worry about it being in your data center. If you've even got data centers anymore, maybe you're moving out of data centers. But we operate it out of our cloud and deliver it to you. Microservice-based, I think, is a lot more key. The fact that it's microservice-based means it's very easy for us to upgrade. And we deliver upgrades on a regular basis. But, as an example that we understand the retail market, we don't do upgrades during the Christmas period or the Christmas freeze. We're aware that, retailers do not want their infrastructure touched during that time, so we don't make changes over that kind of Black Friday and Christmas period. But what it does mean is that you get access to the new features on a regular basis. Most weeks you'll get new features delivered, and you can use them. So you don't have that kind of legacy controller base, whether it's a controller in every store that you need to upgrade, or a bunch of big controllers sitting in your data center or somebody else's data center that need to be upgraded. Because we understand that typically they don't get upgraded. It's a major thing to upgrade, so that only happens maybe once or twice a year. And I think in reality, if people are honest, actually it never happens. They only ever upgrade if they're forced to do an upgrade. So you're not getting to use all of the new features. Another key thing is API driven. What do we mean by API driven, and why is that important to you? So in common with all of the Juniper platforms, everything you can do in the graphical user interface, you can also do with an API. So why is that important to you? Well, what it enables you to do, it enables you to integrate the solution into your existing management plans. You can decide you can do as much or as little of that as you want to, and you can evolve it over time. So you might start by, just taking trouble tickets and putting them straight into your kind of IT service desk tool, where, just through a simple API, if we see a problem on the network, we'll create a service ticket, we'll attach the packet capture to it, and it's automatically in your system. Or maybe you want to take the heat maps, put that into your planogram software, and deliver kind of business value that way. But the advantage is it enables you to integrate over time the platform completely into your business. You don't need to learn the new platform. And we've got customers who are using this kind of technology without actually using any of the graphical user interfaces. They're running the whole thing from their existing management platforms. We've got customers at the other extreme who just use the graphical user interface and said you can do as much or as little of that as you want. The choice is yours of how much that you do. So to summarize and to finish my presentation before we go and listen to some great stories from some of our customers, we might not know what's coming. We certainly don't know what the next normal is. We don't even know if we can go on holiday next week or whether the stores will open or what we can do. But the only thing we can do through having a solution in our stores that's flexible, scalable, is we can be ready to deliver it, whatever it is. And on that, thank you very much. And Lawrence, I'd like to hand back to you.
Thanks ever so much, Paul. That was great. I really like the suit analogy about you used in there, but the customized recommendations, I'm not quite so sure. That sounds like it could get quite expensive on a Saturday. So our next presentations are actually going to be from some of our customers that are using the Juniper Network solutions to power their retail networks. Please remember, we do have the Q&A at the end if there's anything you'd like to add. We've had some great questions coming in so far. But next, we're going to switch back to James Morgan, who's speaking with Snehal Patel, who's the Global Solution Architect at Gap Inc. And they're going to talk about how they're using AI-driven networking to provide the best possible customer experience in their shops in a highly competitive marketplace. So, over to you.
Hello everyone, my name is James Morgan and I'm the Vice President of Enterprise Sales for EMEA here at Juniper Networks, and I'm delighted today that joining me is Snehal Patel, who is the Director of Global Infrastructure and Architecture at Gap Inc. Snehal, welcome and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, James.
So the retail industry has transformed massively over the last few years and changed how the consumer interacts with their favorite brands. Customers don't simply want to shop for products, they want a more engaging and personalized omni-channel experience. And obviously technology plays a big part and a big role in reshaping everything, how shoppers find their local stores, how they make the purchases, knowing about promotions and lots of other things besides. I know that Gap Inc. were one of the first retailers to really embrace AI-driven networking solutions so that they can provide an amazing retail experience for its customers. And, Juniper and Gap Inc. have partnered together to really achieve this digital transformation of the Gap stores and enable that user experience for both employees and shoppers. What's your strategy to stay at the forefront of technology in what is a highly, highly competitive and dynamic retail environment?
Sure, James. So as you noted, the retail environment is very dynamic. To stay at the forefront of technology, we have built a strong foundation of Mist AI-based wireless. The wireless is no longer a nice to have as it used to be, and actually a necessity in our stores. A great shopping experience can mean things like faster checkout, which we know is important to many retail customers. I don't like to wait in long lines, right? And same for a lot of customers, and is enabled by our wireless today. So wireless network is mission critical for our wireless point of sale system for faster checkout throughout the store. Our strategy is to continue optimizing our wireless network and relying on it to deploy more and more services as part of our modernization effort. We are also opportunistically expanding the deployment of Mist Wireless in our international regions wherever possible.
Okay, good. Well, long may that continue. And of course, 2020 brought a huge amount of change to many industries in almost overnight. And particularly the retail and fashion industry were impacted. And certainly in EMEA, there were many high street stores that just one after the other seemed to be closing or acquiring, organizations that hadn't kept abreast with technology or in tune with their customers or their potential customers. How has Gap Inc. adapted to those challenges and changes and the needs and demands of your customers during this, ultra challenging period of time?
Yep. So 2020 has certainly been challenging for many industries, especially retail. Last year, traffic on our e-commerce sites increased when our stores were closed. We still had customer shopping online. And we implemented omni-channel initiatives to meet the demands. For example, we implemented curbside BOPIS, buy online, pick up in store. We established convenient hubs in our Old Navy and Athleta brands and introduced alternative payment methods. For now, without going into too much detail, I can share that there is a lot of focus on delivering continued enhancements in areas of personalization, customer experience, loyalty, and a few more.
Yeah, I understand. Certainly that customer intimacy is critically important. And, Gap Inc. laid those foundations to deploy, game-changing services, really, to be able to stay differentiated. And I guess during that transformation and that journey, you would have experienced a number of challenges and opportunities, I guess, as well during that time. What have been the main ones for you during that period?
Yeah, so I'll keep it to the Mist deployment for now. Adoption of a new solution can be very challenging at times, especially if we're deploying it in thousands of stores like us. It took us about 1.5 years to roll out the solution in all of our North America stores. And during that time, we ran into quite a bit of challenges. Most of them were non-technical. We had situations where hardware did not arrive at the store on time, or we had a situation where the manager had to leave in the last minute and nobody could open the store for us to deploy the new hardware. We also had situations where everything was ready, but the ceiling was too high, and we needed lifts for the technicians to be able to install the access points. So things like those. However, such issues can only slow you down a bit. Eventually, the project team formed a very good checklist of pre-checks to be done and make sure that the non-technical blockers are avoided as much as possible. On the technical side, we didn't run into too many challenges, mainly because we had done a thorough testing in the lab and in our pilot store, and we knew exactly which type of devices would connect to our wireless network and the configuration changes that we need to do during the night of the cutover. So it all came down to having battle-tested run books to make the deployment cookie cutter.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like, best practice in terms of the planning and upfront and testing. But until you get out into the wild, of course, it's that environment that can, catch you out and have the odd pothole there. Yep. So Gap Inc. have redesigned its stores and the network in particular to allow, new levels of innovation that you've referred to and talked about. How specifically did Juniper's AI-driven networking platform help you achieve your goals, really, of delivering a better user experience and personalization, as well as simplifying operations? And are there any metrics that you can share with us that would enable you to look back and say, this was a success. This was, we achieved what we wanted to set out to at the beginning?
Sure, James. So with the Mist deployment, we took an opportunity to start from scratch and get rid of all of our tech debt that we had accumulated over a period of time. We not only deployed an AI-based wireless network, but also started getting a lot of visibility from the Mist in terms of SLEs, the service level expectation for the entire fleet of stores. The Marvis AI assistant added cherry on top of it by helping us troubleshoot the problems faster. And using Marvis, we were able to push the escalations and resolutions to our tier 1 operations team, where they were able to troubleshoot the problems much faster. Now, we not only can troubleshoot the issues faster, but also have data to check if it is a network problem or something else. Right? Network is always guilty until proven innocent, so now we have the data to do that. Using Mist, we were also able to reduce the store visit by about 85%. We rely on the Mist metrics, the SLEs, mainly the coverage and the roaming criteria, to clearly tell us if the store has any coverage issue or not, and then make a decision to visit the store only if absolutely needed. Overall, the visibility, the SLE, and Marvis AI has helped us a lot to analyze and troubleshoot network problems and reduce store visits. And those are the factors that we consider as the main factors to call our project successful.
Wow. Yeah. So I appreciate you talking about it, but it sounds like Marvis really has become that AI assistant that it was designed to be, way back when, and really giving you that visibility and that, connection to the stores that saves, as you say, 85% less store visits is just incredible. So I'm very pleased with delivering on what we said we would. You've kind of got the great platform in place. There's clearly more turmoil and changes and challenges and competition rising. What do you think is next for the industry and in particular for Gap Inc.?
So industry is always changing rapidly. And some of the primary trends we are seeing in broader retail industry is the rise of personalization and convenience. We saw both these trends growing in 2020, and we don't see them going away anytime soon. At Gap, our primary focus is always to meet business requirements and innovate in that process to meet customer needs as well. And our wireless deployment is a prime example of that approach. In terms of industry thing, what's next at Gap, one of our major goal is to continue migration of our applications to the public cloud. We are also working on some innovation in our stores where wireless network will play a critical role. We are also modernizing our voice infrastructure in stores and increasing the adoption of VoIP. Again, that would rely on our robust wireless network to be successful.
Perfect. Well, listen, thank you once again so very much for your time, for your insight, and of course your trust in Juniper and Mist technology. It's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you maybe in one of your stores in the Bay Area in the not too distant future. But thanks once again.
For sure. Thank you, James.
So, great conversation there. So from Gap Inc., we're now going to change location entirely. We're moving to Germany, where we're going to hear from Simon Dries, who's the Director of Omnichannel Services and Innovations, and Sebastian Stelter, who's a Team Leader and Project Manager at Outlet City, which is a retail outlet centre group whose aim is to be able to offer every customer who visits them the best possible experience at every touch point during their visit. So thank you, and over to the video.
Hello, everyone. Joining me today are Simon Dries, who's the Director of Omnichannel Services and Innovation, and Sebastian Stelter, Project Manager and Service Support Team Lead at Outlet City Metzingen. OCM and Juniper have got a long-standing partnership focusing on offering visitors the best shopping experience across any touch point. To achieve greater digitalization of the shopping experience, it has deployed Juniper wireless networking powered by Mist AI. The Wi-Fi covers 40,000 square meters of retail floor space, as well as outdoor areas and parking garages. Gentlemen, welcome, and thank you for joining me today. Juniper and Outlet City Metzingen, or OCM as I've called it already, we've partnered together to achieve greater digitalization of your shopping experience. Can you just tell us how OCM's vision and the strategy you are taking to be able to innovate in digitalization?
Yes, sure, James, and thanks again for the invitation. But first of all, let me introduce Outlet City Metzingen, because I think that some of you don't know it already. So Outlet City is one of the biggest factory outlets in Europe. We have more than 500 brands in our channels. And the outlet itself is located in Metzingen. It's a small town about 30 kilometers south of Stuttgart. And you know Stuttgart, where Porsche and Mercedes are from.
Oh, yeah.
And in pre-pandemic 2019, we had about 4.5 million shoppers from around the globe. And what's special for us is that 1/3 of the revenues is done from customers outside Europe, especially from China, Russia, and the Arabic countries. And we got premium and especially luxury brands like Prada, Burberry, Moncler, Nike, Adidas, Tommy Hilfiger, and so on. But one thing that makes Outlet City really special is that we were the first location, the first fashion outlet was an online shop. We launched back in 2012, and due to this online shop, we gained really strong know-how in the field of digitalization, you know, like online marketing, building a shop, building websites, create content, do websites, analytics, and so on. Yeah. And both channels, you know, the retail business and also the e-commerce profit from this know-how, of course. So our mission is to provide the best shopping experience for our guests in all channels, retail and online. And to do this, we need digitally driven tools as part of this experience. And a few years ago in 2018, we initialized an omni-channel program to deliver this exact experience. For example, we came up with a loyalty concept, the Outlet City Club, where customers can collect points for their revenues, or a whole new Outlet City smartphone app, which helps the customers when he is in Metzingen to navigate, to find special offers and so on. On top of this, we have a state-of-the-art footfall tracking, both indoor and outdoor, to get like Google Analytics like insights of our retail business. And of course, we have a powerful free Wi-Fi, especially for our non-European guests I mentioned before.
So obviously 2020 brought a lot of changes to many industries, and particularly the retail and fashion industry. It's barely been out of the front page press in terms of the challenges there. How have you embraced technology to extend the reach of your selling and distribution channels?
Yes, James. As you can imagine, COVID-19 impacted heavily. So just let me give you an example. In Germany right now, we have strict regulations regarding retail shopping. There are limits on how many guests are allowed per square meter in the stores. And normally this would lead to heavy queuing in front of the stores. It would be really crowded in Metzingen, which we don't want, of course. And to avoid it and to make shopping more convenient on the one side and also more safe on the other side, is that our developers created the mobile check-in within a few weeks. And the mobile check-in is a web app where a guest scans a QR code in front of the store and then is queued up virtually, and the guest sees when it's time to go to the store and make use of the spare time, like for example have a coffee or visit another store. And the doormen of the brands have a special view in this web app where they can see the allowed limit of customers and the current utilization. And to make this mobile check-in happening, we need the footfall sensors, we need the Wi-Fi for the guests and the doorman, of course, and we need this digital know-how we gain through our online shop experience. And here you can see how different parts of the digital infrastructure enables new services on top of it. And in sometimes the mobile check-in really made the difference for us between able to open up or to be in lockdown. It's absolutely business critical. And of course, our online shop also became much more important. So when there was a complete lockdown last year, of course, our retail business was closed too. But despite all other outlets, we were able to continue business through our online shop. And even before 2020, the online business was growing strongly, like 20 or 30% per year. But 2020 really topped it all, and the numbers have gone through the roof.
Yes, the success of our online shop it's really amazing. But we also had and need to find ways to reach new customers as well as engage existing customers. So social commerce and event-based shopping has really taken off. So that's a great success, I think. And Outlet City Metzing is a top destination for customers shoppers, not only in Europe, but worldwide. So the enormous potential is there, and we are closely working together with international companies, platforms, influencers, brand partners to find and test successful concepts. It really is an important market for OCM. And really, Juniper technology helps us to reach our goals by providing a great Wi-Fi experience. And I think the technical infrastructure overall we've built is the base for everything we do.
Truly impressive. Again, when you think an outlet city and a destination, a physical geographic destination, but of course you've used technology just to smash all the boundaries geographically, and I think also demographically. So absolutely very impressive and huge numbers and statistics. And of course, also reacting to the challenges of a pandemic and the platform that gives you the ability to ebb and flow with that. How do you see the sort of needs and the demands of the retail customers and of course the brands as well, because you have a number of stakeholders that you need to keep satisfied. How do you see that changing going forward?
Due to COVID-19, there's a tremendous acceleration of the digitalization, as you can see by the examples that Sebastian and I have given before. And there is no going back. So in future, both the digital and the traditional distribution channels will embrace and get stronger all together. And also, new technology will enable new features. One example I came across was a real-time track and analysis of in-store customers, where an AI does an analysis whether, for example, it's necessary to open a new register even before there is a queue of the already open registers. And also a big trend for the fashion industry is sustainability. It's not totally connected to digital business, but it's an absolute global mega trend, and it's far beyond fashion. And especially, fashion has not a perfect track record when it comes to sustainability. So there will be big changes, and there are already some good things going on. Like, for example, Outlet City is producing green energy with solar and water power, and this energy is used in our stores. We are providing our retailers with green energy.
And being someone who's just invested in an electronic vehicle, the charging points automatically means that's a destination I head for. It makes a real difference. So I totally appreciate that as well at a personal level. And Juniper's, our true north, our mission statement is all about experience and experience first networking. And you talked about a couple of examples there where customers experience, where predictive analytics plays a role. But what's your view on this in a bit more detail, maybe, and how are you really driving that user experience for all your customers and the brands that you work with?
James, I think a great experience is based on many different factors. We aim to develop ourselves to a fully customer-centric thinking company. That means we want and we must build a great relationship with our customers and partners. And this can be achieved in many ways. But one thing is really essential. We must create a great experience at any touch point with our customers and partners. And we are working hard with our colleagues and teams to create a seamless and great user experience from many topics like seamless Wi-Fi coverage, high connection, stability and speed, state-of-the-art technology, app and website usability, premium quality design for digital products and our buildings, our price-winning architecture, and an amazing brand portfolio, amazing restaurants and cafes, and very important, outstanding customer service online for our online shop and on location in Metzing. And last but not least, many people are shoppers we need to have great prices and benefits for our customers. And I think the innovative technology we talked about is really helping us to give that experience, to create that experience and new possibilities for new technologies to create that great experience.
Some really great insight into the here and now and I think the decisions that you took a couple of years ago, maybe, that have led to being able to deliver that kind of experience. But what's next? What's next for the industry and what's next specifically for OCM?
Looking at OCM, of course, on the short term, we have to get our retail business back online. So right now, as I mentioned, we are running under strict limitations due to COVID-19. But in the near future, I'm sure things will get back to normal. Our retail business itself is also more than ready to pick up the challenge. In my opinion, retail shopping must be an event for the guest. In Metzing, almost everybody, every guest plans its visit. They come with family, with friends, and they plan their stay during holidays, and they go shopping, they go eating, they enjoy special events and just simply have a good day. And they are looking forward to go to Metzing, and we do everything possible to make their visit here as pleasant as possible. And new digital tools will support this trend. And what we will do is we will address our guests on a more personal level to guide them through their experience. And I think location-based services provided by the Juniper access points, for example, in combination with hyper-personalization tools in our app, for example, or in our club, will become crucial through all our channels, our website, our app, and so on. And pre-COVID, we were growing stronger than the overall fashion retail market in Germany, and I'm sure we will continue to do so. So what we want to be is the best host for a shopping experience, both online and retail. And I'm really certain that together with our brand partners in Metzing and the passionate, professional, and hardworking team we have in Metzing, we will achieve this goal.
Well, listen, I love when customers such as yourselves take our technology and completely, transform their business and really drive great innovation. Simon, Sebastian, thank you very much for your time and your insight. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you very much, James.
Thank you, James. Yes.
So great presentation there, and I'm sure, like many of us, I'm also looking forward to getting back to retail and being able to do things as normal. So next, we're going to hear from Matthew Draycott. Matthew's the infrastructure manager at Dunelm, and he's going to talk to us about delivering cozy homes with AI-driven networking and how Dunelm has been able to manage growth in cloud, also dealing with the proliferation of mobile devices that have come onto the network. As someone who's just moved house and is buying a lot of stuff, and this is a store where actually I may have been spending a little bit too much time recently, so I can actually vouch that as a customer, they're doing a great job of this. So thanks very much, and over to the video.
Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to say that joining me today is Matthew Draycott from Dunelm. Matthew, welcome, and thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. The pleasure's ours. And Matthew, Dunelm have over the years clearly grown into a major brand here in the UK, and Juniper and Dunelm have recently built a really exciting partnership, and it's great to see some of those use cases around digitalization that we talk about of the shopping experience really come to the fore. Can you just tell us a little bit about Dunelm?
Of course, yeah. So Dunelm is the UK's leading homeware retailer. We're a multi-channel retailer with 175 stores. We also have our own distribution network, including home delivery of furniture, a manufacturing centre, And our recent engagement with Juniper has been to replace Wi-Fi across all of our 200 sites and 2,000 APs. So we're currently about 75% of the way there, 150 stores done, and 1,500 APs.
Wow. Okay, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And 2020, of course, brought a huge amount of change to many, many industries, and in particular the retail industry. And for those of us in the UK, it wasn't a week that went by where there wasn't news of a major high street chain falling by the wayside. But how are the needs and the demands of your retail customers changing?
So it was twofold for us. In the first lockdown, we were classed as essential retailer, so we remained open. So we were largely the same, other than more people having to work from home, which put pressure on the system in ways that we weren't used to. We then got to the second lockdown, and government changed goalposts, so we were forced to close. Other than click and collect. So again, putting pressure in an area that we haven't seen it before. One thing we did see is record day after day with click and collect. It was hitting loads that it was never expected or anticipated to hit.
Wow, impressive. And again, a huge pivot, a huge change for everybody involved at your organisation, I'm sure. What are the services you provide to your customers in order to make their shopping experience all the more convenient?
So we've obviously got the home delivery, traditional home delivery, with some of that being our own delivery people. We've got click and collect, which is obviously a lifesaver through the pandemic. And now that stores are open again, we've got our mobile point of sales. So this was available before before our lockdowns, but we've recently had a major upgrade to that system, so that now when people are in store, they can order things from click and collect from other stores, from the same store later on. But Wi-Fi is absolutely critical to this particular function. If there are any delays, because it's directly with the customer, they tend to walk away. The maximum we get is between sort of 3 and 5 minutes with them. So yeah, really critical service.
So really being, business critical rather than a nice to have. So you really need something that's world class. And I gather that AI operations weren't initially on your initial requirements when that came out until you really saw it and it maybe captured your imagination somewhat. But what benefits does that deliver for you?
So, yeah, when I joined just over 18 months ago, the biggest challenge was network troubleshooting. I had engineers wasting countless hours trying to prove or disprove, mostly disprove, that the problem wasn't the Wi-Fi. It was constantly blamed. So after seeing the SLEs and the AI capabilities of Juniper Mist, those requirements jumped right to the top of our list.
So almost something you didn't know was possible or available until you saw it firsthand, which is very powerful indeed. And how's the overall deployment? You mentioned a number of stores earlier, but how's that gone in terms of simplicity and speed? And what have you learned during that process?
So the initial benefit is obviously not having to have any controllers, any hardware. So we were very quick to get a proof of concept up and running. With the support of the Mist team, we used the APIs to do all the bulk configuration. So not only did that save time, the consistency was there. And then if we need to make any changes in the future, we've got the ability to edit those scripts and then make bulk changes very, very quickly. Using templating as well was something that was really important to us with 175 stores that are almost identical. So working with our deployment partner, that enabled us to create a really simple runbook and have we're not needing highly skilled engineers to go and work overnight to go and deploy these, which meant we were at the peak we're deploying 16 stores per week with very few issues and no major issues thus far, which would.
Impressive. So getting the right people to do the right jobs is obviously the most optimal method of delivering the solution and service. I also understand that Dunelm have moved several key e-commerce platforms to a microservices architecture. How's the adoption of Juniper microservices and the Mist Cloud really helped Dunelm improve development and deployment and operational outcomes?
Yeah, so because we're a split business, we've got half that is DevOps, and then we've got the other half which has traditional systems. Yeah, we clearly see the benefits of frequent smaller releases on the DevOps side versus the slow, cumbersome changes on the traditional side. And having the 2-week release schedule from Mist has been really helpful for us. It's something that we look at and review each fortnight. And several times we've implemented those features immediately.
Yeah, brilliant. Good stuff. Now, we've talked about a lot of different aspects of the process and the solution, but fundamentally, what was it that made you choose Juniper technology?
So the visibility, yeah, we just needed that visibility. It's saving so much time when troubleshooting, as I've said. We've also granted access to people right the way across tech. So if they're doing projects and they're using things in different ways, they can quickly look at how the Wi-Fi is behaving on any particular device, giving them the confidence that the issues aren't network related. The other aspect was the engagement from Juniper Mist, so Phil and Neil specifically. So they work closely with us to get the proof of concept up and running very quickly, and that support has continued throughout the deployment.
Good. So the experience across the board has been, what we would like our customers to experience. So, lots of things going on, lots of moving parts, of course. But what do you think is next for the industry and for Dunelm in particular?
Yeah. So on top of the huge Wi-Fi replacement, we're also planning to close our data centers down by this summer. So we're moving to infrastructure as a service as a minimum, which gives us a better ability to scale up, scale out, which we've needed during the pandemic, and it's been more difficult with on-prem hardware, and also scaling down and in. So if we need to make savings on areas that no longer need that capability. And alongside that, we're finishing our transition over to SD-WAN, so that because we're predominantly cloud services, it means that they can be accessed directly from the store, giving them quicker access to those services.
Perfect. Well, listen, there's nothing more powerful than hearing from the voice of the customer. Very much appreciate the time you've taken, and thank you for the insight and your trust in Juniper.
Thanks for having me.
So hi and welcome back, everybody. So that brings to the end our presentations for this session. So we're going to move over to the panel session now. We have had a few questions that have come in as we've been presenting, and I'm going to invite our speakers to come back and actually join this session. If there's anything that was asked that we don't get to pick up on, because we are going to be tight on time, we will keep running, we will keep recording so you can listen back, but we will make efforts to respond to people on email if we don't actually get a chance to answer your question today. Some of the questions I've got are going to be at specific people here, but anybody can feel free. If you've got a thought, if you've got something you'd like to say, please feel free to bake in and talk about it. So on into our panel session, if everybody is ready. I think I can see happy smiling faces everywhere. So start with you, Giulio. A question here. It would be good to hear thoughts from anybody on this, but when you were talking in your IDC presentation, you mentioned that 32% of retailer efforts are going into seamless and frictionless commerce. This feels like a really key strategy in improving customer experience, where seamless and frictionless commerce has to be the most important thing in a purchasing process. So do you see that this is driving other benefits as well around things like customer loyalty and then future stickiness to getting footfall back into the shop later?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Let's just start from maybe to give a bit of scenario, because I believe it's always important to remember that the purchasing process is really a key component of the broader customer journey model. That should become in itself, as we have been seeing with all the speech we have been doing, real-time and contextual. So the purchasing process should be enabled everywhere, we can say. Before talking about the benefits, we have to remind that everything that happened over the past year and a half, we have seen an explosion of the use of, for example, subscription services, or even something that was usually used was buy now, pay later, for example, as well as mobile commerce, of course, the consumer-driven one, but even the store associate-driven one. There are examples of retailers that have been doing this in a very few months in implementing substantially store associate capabilities that allow to process payments in the line while people were waiting in the line in order to reduce them. And maybe we can think about as well, for example, live streaming shopping. Okay, so this is just really to give an idea of the complexity, the increasing complexity that we are having into the purchasing process within the entire customer journey. Speaking of the benefits, that is really the point then of the question. When you manage to improve customer journeys because you enable them with technology that allows a real-time contextual delivery, personalization, what we have been seeing with our research and talking to retailers is substantially an increase in conversion rate. This is both expected and an actual outcome of this type of improvement and innovation in this field. And then this, of course, means that when you have a consistent customer journey across interfaces and the different facilities, if you want to call them like this, so the physical assets like stores, even if at IDC we like to call them interfaces because they are the same type of an interface at the end as it could be a mobile phone, even with physical contact. What you really see is an increasing customer loyalty, of course, that goes beyond the pure transactional aspect from what we are seeing. And so really starting a sort of collaboration, we could say, on loyalty with the customer in terms of exchanging data and making the customer more in control of their data and of how they are used and in getting benefits from them. That gets to an increase in, you're naming it, customer lifetime value. Of course, that is really something that retailers are starting to look more and more. That's a bit, I started from far, but I believe that at that point was important to answer the question.
The really, really fantastic answer. Thanks ever so much for that. That was yeah, really, really good. So, okay, so if everyone's okay, moving on. So we've heard also about the real-time contextual store experience. And as brands, it's really important that we make customers feel special today, even more special as they're now coming back to bricks and mortar for their retail fix, having been sat at home for such a long time. What do you think, anybody can pick this one up, what do you think is the best way to balance the purchasing process for a customer? For example, things like, app-based in-store click and pay, like Paul was talking about in his presentation, but also while still ensuring that there's enough staffed kind of interaction with the customer so that they feel that they're getting a personal experience. And then that's the additional benefit of going in, which I guess goes back to Paul with the, if they're trying on a suit, they don't just want to click and walk out. They'd like somebody to say, that looks great on you, sir. You really should go for that. So how do you think the best way that we can balance that is moving forward to getting people back into stores at the moment?
Another good question. And before I provide my answer, I wanted to check if the Juniper colleagues wanted to share their thoughts. Or I can start providing my point of view and IDC point of view.
Yeah, let's go with IDC, and then anybody else can come in as they feel.
Okay, great. So, well, first of all, again, if we refer back to what I was saying before, so enabling the purchasing process at any moment of the customer journey, here really new store types play a fundamental role in the delivery of what we call value-added services to your point of balancing. So, having said this, according to the nature of a specific retailer, we believe there are different opportunities for balancing in-store purchase processes. So I totally agree on the mobile commerce enabled in-store purchases that you were mentioning, and on the need for having store associates that are appropriately equipped to deliver a personalized experience to customer. And let's not forget the employee experience, the store associate employee experience. This is fundamental in combination with the personalized experience of the customer. To this, I would add that contextualized experience can also be enabled by automated checkout. We have mentioned check-in and check-out, both in both ways during the examples and the cases that Juniper clients have been sharing. And well, the automated checkout can be applied at different levels of complexity, of course. It can start from self-scanning devices, okay, but then it can arrive up to combinations of Wi-Fi, RFID, different types of IoT devices, and machine vision and video analytics capabilities, you name them, that then really make more complex the handling of the system. And I believe these are a perfect way to, let me say, automate the experience of the client to make it more seamless and safe. However, then our recent research that we have run showed also that the interaction with the employees in the store was still top of mind. And I believe this is key because, again, we come back to the fact that you need to equip the store associates with technology, might it be fixed or mobile, that allows them to have a personalized relationship with the client in a safe manner, substantially, and at the same time to not experience any kind of disruption while they're working. So this is my take on this topic.
Yeah, I like the balance that you're offering there, actually. I think that works really well. I do think it's really important. You know, certain retailers going to have a different level of a personal interaction, but you do need to feel that there is somebody you can talk to. But at the same time, if you can ease the transaction so that I'm in and out very fast, then I'm going to be more likely to come back. So I think it's a really, really good way of looking at it. Thank you very much. So I have a question for Simon next. Although, again, anybody can break in on this one. But Outlet City differs from Gap and Dunelm in that you're offering a retail outlet experience. So you're bringing lots of top brands together in one place so that people can go and they can shop at everything in one go. And you talked about some great examples in your presentation when you were saying, for example, about the queuing system where people effectively get a virtual ticket to be able to enter a store at a time. And then the encouragement is, well, whilst you're waiting, why don't you go and have a coffee? Why don't you go and buy something somewhere else? And so they can work that up. So obviously, being able to provide really reliable, fast Wi-Fi is going to be really important to you for that. But because you've got different brands doing different things, you've got visitors coming in from all over the world, has this introduced any unique challenges that you've had to overcome for your outlets to make this happen, to keep this successful? Simon?
Well, thank you for the question, Lawrence. Of course, the rollout of a whole new network infrastructure with copper and fiber optic wiring with Wi-Fi and more than 130 stores located in different buildings. Of course, it's always a big project, and it took us almost 2 years to reach full coverage. But despite this rather obvious aspect, there are two things that you might not see as a problem before. So one thing is, of course, the customers expect a really fast internet, especially our guests from super digital countries like China, for example. And in Germany, we are facing the problem that the internet connection in rural areas like Metzingen is not as fast as you like to have it. So finding an internet provider with fiber optics, which have a throughput of 10 gigabit, for example, took actually more time than we expected it. But we found someone that can provide us. But one thing that really gave us the headache was the installation of the hardware itself. So you have to keep in mind that Outlet City is a landlord and the brands are doing their own business. So we cannot just go into the store and install the access points, but we have to convince our partners to do so. And especially our luxury brands spend a lot of effort for the interior design, and you just cannot install a plain white access point at the ceiling. They will go crazy. So we had to find solutions to that the installations do not attract attention. So one example is that we have to find partners to do paint jobs on the access points, so the color matches exactly the ceiling. And there are some examples. One installation required a paint job with a metal flake look, and you can imagine that metal flakes in a painting on an access point, it's a rather bad idea. But we found a solution that that works, and we are pretty happy about it. And we even had to find metal workers to build special mounting brackets for the access point that you can install it. And one thing that was the most difficult aspect was one could not install any access point on it, and we had to use external antennas in a way that Juniper does not recommend, but we did it anyway. And with a lot of planning to tackle reflections and so on, we found a solution that really worked out. So actually the shop fit was one of the biggest problem when it came to the project. On the technical level, the rollout went rather smooth. So thanks to the Mist cloud backend, it was really easy and comfortable. There were only a few issues, but most of it was getting the hardware installed.
Right. So I mean, it's really interesting because it sounds like you had technology-wise, the installation. If you could have just gone and laid the access points out one after the other, then it would have been absolutely great. But it was actually the brands that were causing the challenges. But then you were able to overcome them with the ways that you thought about things. That's really great. Thank you very much for that, Simon. So the next question. I think I'm going to start with putting this one at Paul and see what you think about this. So we're going to have, what I want to think about here is using the AI-driven network is something that is enabled, and we've just talked about this actually, and Simon was just talking about this. It means that we can join retail stores, various retail stores, whether it's one business or multiple business. It means you can think about central management and operations. Now, all of this for an organization is going to give benefits in being able to leverage scale, which would then assist in other things like product strategies, effective purchasing, or even reducing spend. So from the sort of conversations that you have, Paul, when you're out with customers, what do people tell you that are the kind of the best benefits that they're getting from having the most modern network today?
So I think the customers I've talked to, maybe some of their benefits are different, as you'd expect per customer. But a lot of them, it kind of focuses on one kind of key thing that I always think of. I always kind of think of a retail going into a store or buying anything as like a retail journey or a retail experience, and it's allowing them to kind of optimize that experience for what the customer wants. And let me give you two extremes. If you're rushing home from work, it's 7 o'clock, you just need some food, versus you're about to go out and buy a new car or a new suit or a new camera, whatever is kind of whatever you really like. You actually want a completely different journey. And I think a lot of what the technology is enabling is to deliver that journey. So you can arrive at the supermarket, it can say, well, what are you here for? I need a quick dinner, and it can say, well, because it understands. Because the application can understand what's available in the store, it can say, well, here are 5 recipes. I've got all the ingredients for that. I know the kind of food you like. So, I pick the recipe. It gives me a quick map. It's 2 minutes around the store. Grab all my bits, scan each one as I do it. I'm out the door. Versus, and we talked about this earlier as well. With what do we do with store staff? Is that. In the other environment, I want probably some personal attention. I want some advice. But again, when I kind of go into the store, I can start. I probably will have done online research. I know a lot of people say this now. Is often the consumer can be more knowledgeable than the store staff, because the consumer has researched the car or the television they're about to buy, and they know everything about it, whereas the store staff need to know everything about everything else. And to me, when we can start tying those two things together, so that when I know it's Lawrence, it's you that's come in, or James has come in, and I know that James has been researching everything about Teslas, and he particularly likes the Model X because he's got a big family. So I know when he's standing in front of me that that's the model I'm going to take him to, that's the model I'm going to talk about, because I've kind of got that kind of thing. So I think a lot of the changes will be just changes the way businesses operate because of the technology that's available to them, and the kind of almost the foresight maybe that they have of the customer, and that kind of knowledge and it being kind of real time.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Paul. Thank you. So on to our final question then, before we do the wrap up. So retail has had to change a lot. I mean, it's had to really adapt fast in the last 18 months. And it's been a really steep uphill on that. Now, that's going to continue because a lot of people have seen different ways of doing things. And so the way that, as Paul was just talking about, the way that we research things before we go in, the way that we want to make purchases, all of these are having to continue to advance as well. So with benefits of real-time data, analytics, machine learning, AI, we're seeing great strides in providing personal shopper experiences. And we're almost getting to futuristic levels where you can walk in and start to see customized advertising banners based on Bluetooth LE picking up your device, and that you've got the customer loyalty app installed on your phone. I'm wondering, without sharing too much, whether I can just go around the group that we've got here, and somebody could just suggest something which, based on what they know now, is something that is going to be a key technology that is going to be something that's going to make a real difference in the next 5 years. Not something that's going to be here in 5 years, but something maybe we've got now, which is going to start to make that difference, and somewhere where people should be thinking, I need this. So we'll start with Giulio, and then we'll go around the group. Just one thing.
Yeah, thank you. You're making a very good point. So the point is, from how I see and we see at IDC, and looking forward to the next 5 years, so the long term substantially, the point is that having now in place this kind of AI ML infrastructures and capabilities, it's really what gets you ready for the future, if I may use this kind of phrase, in the sense that if on one side, it allows you to orchestrate your daily operations and get better at doing them and faster at doing them. And on the other side, this type of capabilities also enable innovation. It says that the capability to work on data at speed and scale enable faster innovation. This is something on which retailers are working. So it is really a future-proof asset, implementing now AI ML capabilities. Then you can talk about having embedded capabilities, for example, in customer experience or in order fulfillment, and then having another layer of orchestrating AI ML capabilities and so on and so forth. But I really believe this is the approach, really enabling any type of business use cases, from real-time services in store by connecting to Wi-Fi, as we were just mentioning, or helping, for example, the store staff in taking replenishment decisions. It's a great burden to take this kind of decisions, and you can just improve on the operational side and then innovate in the long term how this is done. Well, you have demonstrated a business case for AI ML substantially.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So, Simon, what would you think? What would your opinion be on this?
Well, I totally agree with Giulio. So I also think that AI ML is a key technology that you will need to be excellent in within the next 5 years. And there are some aspects when it comes to it. For example, you have marketing, where you want to talk to your customers in a more personalized way. You want all of your digital channels to be personalized to a really one-to-one communication. And also you can use AI ML for other purposes, like I mentioned in the video before. There are solutions that there is with sensors for tracking footfall. You can see an AI can do an analysis whether a customer needs help, and some employees of the store can get a push notification to their smartwatch and go and help the customers. And I think what's really important when it comes to AI ML is that you as a company need to build up this know-how, and so you can make use of it. That's what Outlet City helped during COVID-19. That we have all this digital know-how in-house, and that's what I recommend really for all companies. And do your digital homework. Get your own developers, build up this digital know-how so you can be flexible, be quick when changes in the digital technology will be necessary.
Brilliant. I had a really cool idea there for having the notification of a customer with a problem and shipping someone out to immediately. I really like that one. Thank you very much, Simon. Okay, so Paul, I mean, what's your thoughts on this? What would you think would be a great tech?
So interesting. I kind of think actually the technology is all here today. I think if you kind of look at all the things we've talked about over the course of the summit, from IoT, location-based services, giving people access to data, using AI, ML, it all exists. And in a way, it takes me back to maybe 20 odd years ago when I used to walk around with a mobile phone, a camera, and a PDA in my hand. And you know what's coming next, because Apple came along with the iPhone. And what did they do? They combined all of the things that I wanted into a single device. And I think that's where the innovation is going to come out, when we start taking, feeds from, and Simon almost just touched on it as well. We take feeds from all of those assets, knowing where somebody is, knowing who they are, knowing if there's going to be a problem, getting somebody to go and help them by knowing, who can go and help that person, because who's free, who's the nearest, how do we get somebody to them, understanding everything they've done. I think when we start to bring all of that together, I think that's where we're going to see the advantages and the change in the business value, and the winners will be kind of those that do that first and deliver that customer experience.
Right. Yeah, it's very good point. Getting a flow here. Sorry, James, I was going to ask you to go next, but I'm also going to ask you if you'd like to wrap us out.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just I'll sum up a little bit. It's always difficult if you're the last to go when you've got a panel of experts to come up with something slightly different. But I think the reality is, we talked about the technology. I think that means nothing unless it's put in the hands of organizations and partners that can help really maximize what that will bring from an outcome perspective. I think some of just talking about collapsing and maybe what will happen, further down the line, for me, we talk about omni-channel, but I think depending on the level of technology and the type of, retail outlet you're in, so whether it's TVs or cars or whatever, that, video conferencing, instant access to, true specialists that do know more, that can add value to the consumer rather than the research the consumer does, I think it's definitely something that would be considered. And also the whole, extra goods brought up, if you like, in terms of delivering at home. So, especially if you look at outlet cities, one of the challenges having two daughters who like to shop is lugging around all the shopping. So having that sort of instant, support that it's at home before you are, or, an hour or so afterwards, with maybe some more belongings to try on that you didn't get a chance to, I think there's lots of different ways that you can combine those experiences. So anyway, it goes, I think it's going to be interesting. We're limited purely by people's imagination. As Paul said, the technology is pretty much there. And I think when you've got an open, secure, robust platform, both hardware and software, then that puts you in good stead to be able to do that. I've personally really enjoyed all the conversations. I was obviously involved in the videos beforehand, but it's just sitting back and listening again. Actually, there's even more insight. There's more that I've learned. So my thanks go to all the panelists and for everybody joining. I really, it's been a fantastic event. So thanks to everybody. Back to you, Lawrence.
Yeah, nothing more to say there, really. I mean, if you want to carry on the conversations with us, here's some ways you can do it. You can email us. You can go and have a look at the missed live demo that we've got, or you can actually register for our event. We can even provide briefings. If you send this email address and you want to have a customer briefing, that's fine. So this whole event will actually be made available on demand to go and listen to as well. So you could always share it with somebody, and we will be sending out an email with all of these details to help you remember it. But yeah, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the event, and we'll see you for the next one.